It seems that being a board member of ABC Health Center is easy. The last 5 years have been the best in ABC's history. ABC has averaged more than $1 million in operating income during those years. The cash levels of ABC seem to rise each month, and management proudly puts the day's cash on hand number at the top of each monthly board packet. The management team has been stable as well. The Chief Executive Officer, Chief Financial Officer, and Chief Operating Officer have all been employed by ABC for over 10 years. The board meetings for ABC are enjoyable. Everyone is in a great mood, and management seems to be excited to share news each month of ABC's great operating results. It's just so easy to sit back and not ask too many questions about the financial status of the health center. After all, with financials this strong, why do changes need to be made? Here are some additional details. Last year, ABC completed construction of a brand new building on the east side of town and just had the grand opening before the end of the last fiscal year. Although ABC's cash position is strong, the board decided to borrow some of the funds needed to construct the building. ABC did receive a Health Resources and Services Administration, or HRSA, construction grant for $500,000, which was helpful, and they also borrowed $800,000 from the local bank. Management wants to reward its employees by giving all employees a 5% raise in compensation. Finally, the local hospital that has been such a great partner in the last few years has approached ABC and inquired whether ABC would be willing to take over one of their outpatient clinics. This is not currently near one of ABC's locations and would add some patients to ABC. Now we will take a look at condensed financial statements for ABC over the last 2 years. You will see the statements one by one. You may also have downloaded the financial statements already. This will be useful if you need to return to the statements when answering the problem. For the online versions, review the statement and then select the next arrow to proceed. That way you can take as much time as you need to review the statements. You are preparing for the board meeting and considering the 5% salary increase that has been proposed. Employee wages were $13 million in the last fiscal year, and a 5% raise would increase operating expenses by $650,000 next year. This could significantly decrease ABC's operating income to total revenue ratio, or operating margin. What was that ratio for the 12/31/2019 year? Hint, look at the income statement. The answer is B. The operating income to total revenue ratio for 12/31/19 was 4.8%. This is calculated by taking operating income of $1,016,000 and dividing that by total revenue of $20,950,000. What might be a good question or questions for a board member to ask about the proposed 5% adjustment to salary expense? The best answer is D, all of the above. All of those questions would be appropriate for a board member to ask management about the proposed pay raise. If all other things remain equal, this salary adjustment is likely to reduce the next year's operating income by close to 70%, and it may be too aggressive for ABC. Just because the last 5 years have been good does not guarantee the next 5 will be. Maybe ABC should consider a smaller percentage raise, but also consider a one-time bonus for employees. Employees certainly expect to get a raise periodically, and giving raises helps keep morale high and helps ensure you can hire and retain talented people. However, raises impact not just the next fiscal year, but future periods as well. These types of increases should be given with much thought and financial planning. One-time bonuses reward the employee for doing great work, but do not add to base pay, which may help ABC in the future if operating results are not as robust. However, if the health center is paying below market value wages, then raises should be considered. At its meeting, the board will also consider the potential expansion of ABC by taking over a hospital-based clinic. The relationship with the hospital is vital to ABC, so you know this must receive careful consideration. It is good to grow, but is it too much all at once? ABC's own new Eastside clinic only opened a few months ago, but seems like it's off to a great start. With existing growth, you are concerned that resources may be strained to take over the hospital clinic. You go to the balance sheet to compute the current ratio, as that is a liquidity ratio and measures how well ABC can meet its upcoming obligations. What was the current ratio for the 12/31/19 year? Hint, it's current assets divided by current liabilities. The answer is C. The current ratio is 2.37 to 1. The current ratio is calculated by taking current assets of $8,906,000 and dividing that by $3,750,000 of current liabilities. You're concerned that debt has gone up and ABC is further extending itself. What is the debt-to-equity ratio for the 12/31/19 year? Hint, look at the balance sheet. The answer is A. It's 0.24 to 1. Debt-to-equity ratio is calculated by taking long-term debt of $2,500,000 and dividing that by unrestricted net assets of $10,456,000. A ratio under 0.25 is generally considered financially healthy. You are preparing a list of questions for the board on the possible takeover of the hospital outpatient clinic. What would be some good questions to ask? The answer is D, all of the above. Taking over an outpatient clinic from a hospital is a very important consideration for ABC, and all of the above questions are appropriate to ask management. Understanding the operating performance of the clinic is important. Hospitals and community health centers often have different reimbursement rates, and ABC's rates will generally be more favorable than the hospital's rates. Also, a hospital's cost structure is often different than a health center. These factors, along with others, make evaluating the change in ownership a little tricky, but it can be performed as part of a due diligence process. If you take the hospital's existing payer mix and then multiply expected visits by ABC's reimbursement rates, then you can estimate what patient service revenue will be. It is important for management to get a feel for whether existing providers and patients will remain after the acquisition. Major changes to either will definitely affect ABC's operating results. If the hospital is going to lose $500,000 a year on the clinic, ABC could potentially lose less since their reimbursement rates are generally higher. If ABC could reasonably cut that loss in half, they would still be losing $250,000 a year. It is not unreasonable to ask for support from the hospital. If the hospital provided $250,000 in additional support, then ABC would be made whole and the hospital would lose $250,000 less per year going forward, so it can be a win-win situation.